Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to show you how I preserve ground beef. I'm using pint jars for canning my ground beef, and I wash it and put it aside. And then I have my cast iron pan and my pressure canner, which is 22 quarts pressure canner, Miro brand. And then I have 3 bags of 3 pounds ground beef, and I'm gonna brown this first because I'm going to use the hot bag method. So browning it into the cast iron pan, and then after browning, drain it to get rid of the liquid and the fats. So draining it with colander and transfer it to the basin, and then after that I'm ready to put it in the pint jars. So meanwhile, my jars are in the canner for warming up, because I'm using the hot bag method, so I need the jars to be warm. You don't want to put hot meat into the cold jars, otherwise it will break. So warming up my jars first, getting ready for processing my ground beef. So there you go. I'm unloading the jars from the canner and place it in the tray so that I can transfer the meat. So there you go, all the meat are transferred to the jars. For the 9 pounds of ground beef, I was able to make like 11 pints jars of ground beef. And then I season it with sea salt, half a teaspoon for each pint jars. Seasoning is optional, it's up to you if you want or if you don't want to put salt in it, but for me I prefer salty one. And then I poured hot water into each jar. See, and meanwhile I'm soaking my 4 jars lid with hot water to soften the rubber seal. And then after pouring hot water into each jar, I remove the air by debubbling it using a debubbler, and then making sure that each one has an inch headspace. So I remove, other jars have more, so I remove it and then put it or transfer it into the jars which contains a little bit less, so that everyone has like an inch headspace. So after that, so the air is removed, it's already seasoned. Next step will be to wipe the rims of each jar to eliminate the grease, because you never know during the transfer of the meat and during pouring of the water, it's splash or splatter, and it may go to the rims of the jars, so some of them might be greasy. So to be safe, each jar is wiped with paper towel moistened with vinegar. So after wiping the rims with the vinegar moistened paper towel, I put the lids on each jar, and after putting the lids on, I put also the rings of each jar, and then making sure that it's closed. When you close it, just close it finger tight, not really like hard tight, just finger tight. You're just using your fingers to tighten the rings. Okay, and then after doing that, and then I'm ready for transferring all the jars into the canner. So since I have 11 pints jars of the meat, and the canner can accommodate like 8 or 9 jars, so I need 2 layers. So first layers, I just put like 7 pint jars, and then the second layer I place the 4 pint jars. So 7 and 4, a total of 11 pint jars. And then after transferring all the jars into the canner, I then put the lid of the canner back, and then after putting the lid back on, turn the heat up to start processing. Okay, and then you wait until the steam comes out of the vent. You want to see a constant stream of steam flowing from the vent of the canner. So you time that for 10 minutes. In other words, you're venting it for 10 minutes. See the steam, you can see it. You're venting it for 10 minutes so that the air inside the canner is removed. Now after 10 minutes of venting, so you want to cover, or you want to put the weight on the vent, and depending on the elevation, for me, I live in Chicago, it's 597 feet above sea level. So for my elevation, 5 pounds per square inch of pressure is appropriate. So that's what I'm using, the 5 pounds weight. And then you wait again until the jiggler, we call it the jiggler, the weights that I put on top of the vent. You wait when it starts jiggling, you know, when it starts like swaying side to side, back and forth, and turning around. So when it makes the jiggling constant, that's when you start timing. So you process low acidic food like the meat because it's low on acid. So for pint size, you need to process it for 75 minutes. So it's like an hour and 15 minutes of processing time for my elevation anyway. The higher the elevation, the longer the time to process. But for my elevation, 75 minutes is enough. And there you are. After 75 minutes, the time is up. Then you wait. You wait when the pressure go back to 0. And then you let the canner cool off before you open the lid. Okay, so just to be safe. So when the pressure goes back to 0, then you let the canner cool off. I usually left mine for like 15 to 20 minutes before I open the lid of the canner. You know, just for the safe side, to be safe. And just a quick note, when you open the lid of the canner, you wanna open it away from you. In other words, away from your face. Because if you open it towards you, the steam will go towards you, right? And so it might cause burning on your face. So there you are. I'm removing the weight and then opening the lid, turning it away from me. For safety. And then I can then start transferring the jars into the tray. Now I'm using a metal tray here, so I line it again with a towel. The purpose is to prevent thermal shock. As I have said, the jar is so hot. In fact, it's still boiling. It's boiling inside the jar. So that's why when you remove the jar, you don't tilt the jar. Okay, let it stay upright because it's still boiling. It's so hot. So after transferring all the jars into the tray, I then cover it with a piece of towel or any piece of cloth is fine. And then I let it stay overnight. And in the morning, I'm going to check my jars and see if everything is sealed. So now it's the morning after, checking my jars for sealing. And it looks like everything is sealed. I'm so happy about the 4 jars lids. I'm very satisfied. Everything is sealed. Nothing failed. I highly recommend this product. So after checking for sealing and then removing the rings again, I then wash the jars with warm water and soap to get rid of the grease, and then wipe it dry. After that, I labeled it and put the date in it. And just a quick note, I'm trying to compare my last year's ground beef and today's ground beef. Last year I did the raw pack method, and today I'm using the hot pack method. And for its aesthetic aspect, I would say I prefer the hot pack method than the raw pack method. See, on the right side is the raw pack method, and the left side is the hot pack method, and it looks much better on the hot pack method. The raw pack, you can see a lot of grease inside. So from now on, I'm just gonna do the hot pack method in processing my ground beef. Okay, you guys. Thanks for watching.